G'day guys, Clint here, recording episode number 68 of The Full Landscape. Lucky enough to have Rowan Damon here from the Grange Golf Club. Rowan recently did a talk for us at our Open Spaces event, which you may have seen on YouTube or on Spotify. I wanted to do a podcast with him to kind of drill in a little bit more about him and not so much about the course and live. This podcast will give you more of an understanding of his experiences and how he got to the point where he's now the superintendent at the Grange. There's a little bit in there about Liv, but probably a little bit more about his experiences in golf, which hopefully brings some value to anyone that might want to get into golf course greenkeeping or superintendenting. If you've got any questions, as always, please feel free to hit me up on all the socials or find Rowan probably sitting in his office taking credit for all the hard work that his team do at the Grange. Sit back, relax and enjoy. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. I know off the back of your recent Open Spaces talk, you've been quite popular in the podcasting scene. For the listeners and viewers out there, if you could give us your, 3-minute introduction on who you are and how you got to being the course superintendent at the Grange.
Yeah, so thanks for having me. And I guess the road to Grange has been a bit of a long one for me. I've worked at 5 or 6 different clubs. Started at Kumiala Golf Club when I was 16 years old, and worked there for 3 or 4 years. Did my apprenticeship, and then decided to move across to Adelaide. I got a job at Kooyonga Golf Club at that point.
That was your second course?
It was, yeah. Kooyonga was. So big learning curve for me to go to Kooy. It was a much more prestigious golf club, I guess, and one in the city. So working with a lot of people, a lot more staff and a lot bigger budget and that sort of thing. So good experience to go to Kooyonga for me. And then, from there, I went overseas and got a little bit of experience overseas. So I was at the 7th course at St Andrews in Scotland. Still a part of the Links Trust at that golf course, but it's sort of out of town. So you've got all of those 6 courses, the big well-known ones down in the town, and then the 7th was a part of it, but up the hill from the town.
Like less frequented by tourists, or
well, it wasn't, because it was brand new, so everybody was coming to play it because it was brand new, and it would still be pretty busy. It's only open for 6 months of the year, so it would still be pretty busy. But yeah, I'd say less traffic up there, a little bit less traffic.
Why is it only open? Is it weather based?
Yeah, look, it was. I'm sure it's still that way, but it was more about having less people out there whilst you had immature turf through that winter period. So
and what, they still do the 6-month thing though?
Yeah. Yep. So
just to give it a chance to.
Yeah, just to mature, and I'm pretty sure they're still doing it. When I look at it on social media, it looks that way. But give the courses a chance to mature through that winter period, and then get them ready for summer, and away they go.
How long were you there for?
I was there for 12 months. So
oh shit!
I was in overseas for 12 months and spent 9 of those months at St Andrews at the course there. So,
as in, 6 months is obviously working, maintaining it for under golf conditions, and then 3 just kind of nursing it through.
Yeah, pretty
doing
much.
Doing the projects, putting in new whatevers. Obviously, if it's a new course, not a lot of that. But
there was a little bit of that. They'd have a few teething issues, I guess, in those first couple of years that really get found out early on.
Yep.
High traffic areas and things like that, and they're maintaining bent fescue surfaces, so they get through their winters. They come under a lot of pressure when they're immature, so they'd sort of do a lot of sodding, and they had these little spill-off type things in the middles of fairways that required a bit of work through winter. It was an interesting place to work.
Were all the courses completely independent? Like, did they have nurseries per course, or were they kind of would they resource share across?
Yeah, they'd share everything. From
within
memory,
reason.
Yeah, from memory, I think the old and the new course, or maybe the old and the Jubilee or something like that, are sort of share a maintenance shed, and then another couple share a maintenance shed. As for nurseries and things, I think St Andrews lease a bit of land down the road, and they grow all their turf off-site and then bring it down when they need it.
Makes sense.
And my memory's terrible, so that
must be a lot of land. So there's obviously, these are old courses, obviously. The land's been known for a long time.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Would you... I guess it's hard to know any other way, but the idea behind doing the podcast is to try and highlight your career and what you've done, but also to bring some value to listeners that might be thinking about doing anything. Would you recommend that people take an opportunity to do 12 months in another country or another state if that comes up, if they're looking to advance their career or to move further, faster forward kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's probably something I didn't really consider at the time, but in hindsight, it was easily the best thing that I ever did, especially at the age that I did it. I was quite young.
Like early 20s?
Yeah, 24, 25, I think I was. So it was, really good to get that experience, and I didn't see it as that at the time. It was a bit more of just a party, and
to go do,
I could get a job on a golf course anywhere in the world if you want one, and I was prepared to travel and spend some time overseas. So
you didn't think maybe going for a warmer climate?
No, I think it was
for prestigious golf course.
Oh well, look, I guess I could have done that, and a lot of people do, but I had a friend living in Scotland at the time as well. He was working at the same course, and so there was that sort of ease of getting over there for a start. But then St Andrews, in my mind, where else would you go?
Well, it means something to a lot of, like, you look at kind of the cut through of the brands like Coca-Cola or McDonald's. St Andrews has probably one of the top 2 or 3 cut through like brands for a non-golfing awareness in the world, right?
Yeah.
Like Augusta, St Andrews. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what kind of, do they have large numbers of staff on those courses? Like comparatively to say a Kooyonga or a Royal or?
Not much more.
Similar?
Yeah, sort of 18 to 20.
And that's enough to run a premium golf course for the months where you're not having tournaments?
Absolutely, yeah. And St Andrews down in the town, those courses are open all year round. So they're running a full schedule, but they're also very low, what I'd say low maintenance, I guess. Links courses are sort of not unmaintained, but they certainly take less maintaining, or they appear to take less maintaining from the outside looking in.
They have less rounds per week than say a Kooyonga or Grange? Or
no, they would have as
there.
many.
They're busy.
Yeah, that's right. The tees are open from 7 in the morning until
sunrise.
Their sunsets happen to set at about 9 p.m. So,
so you can play late
and later, so you can tee off at 7 and get 18 holes
that's
in,
pretty
sort
cool.
of thing. Yeah.
Wow. And that's probably not something that's you travelling's not, new to you. Obviously, or it's not foreign to you. Like you've travelled for golf or for jobs. That's 2 times.
Yeah.
Do you think you're younger than you would have been expected to be in the position you're in now? Like, do you think you're earlier than you would have been, say, 10 years ago? Like, you know what I mean? Like, super rolls in the top tier courses generally would go to an older head or an older hand. Do you feel like you're earlier than you might have been in the past? And if so, would you attribute that to that travel and those experiences in a way?
I probably felt like I had got that job ahead of time a little bit, but
not to say you weren't ready. I'm talking from a traditional mindset of golf courses.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. I thought I could have done the job, but probably felt like I was. You tend to think late 30s, early 40s.
They'll grab a 40-year-old and run them into 55, 60, get a good 20 years of experience or 20 years of strong, because it's like a footy team, right? You kind of, you have to have that apprenticeship, right? Like, or what do you want to call it? Like the rookie seasons. Yeah. Even as a 40-year-old, you're still going to be a rookie as a course super at a course like that. And then they get their 15 years of blood and sweat and tears out of you afterwards going.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Do you think, would you attribute part of that earliness to the fact that you traveled, like that you went away?
Yeah, there's definitely there's a bit of that involved. I think it was mentioned to me a couple of times by Richard, that was the superintendent there, that I was the assistant under. That you might have to travel, or you might have to leave the state to get some experience to be able to get some good jobs around the place.
Because back then the jobs, no one was going anywhere, right?
No,
it just seemed to be frozen statewide.
Yeah, it was pretty still, and that's normal. But it was, I didn't foresee any movement back in Adelaide when I took the job at Murray Downs.
And then Adelaide just went...
just exploded. So, and that's generally the way it works, I guess.
Murphy's Law, right?
Yeah, so After St Andrews, I came back to work at Grange, and I was there for 8 years, and that's when I decided that I needed to get some interstate experience or some experience at a club as a superintendent. And like you said, nothing was happening in Adelaide, so I sort of took the job at Murray Downs, or got the job at Murray Downs, and that was good for me. I was only there for 8 months, 7 or 8 months, but it was definitely good for me to get a little bit of experience managing staff and being able to put my programs, I guess, into place and being able to just see. I know it's such a short period and it sounds a bit silly, but being able to see results, I guess, for the things that I was starting to do. And so I felt that was pretty invaluable and then definitely played in my favour coming back.
Did they, obviously, through your apprenticeship, you learned how to maintain a golf course. Is there enough management training done in general across the industry for people that are moving into senior roles? Because it feels to me like you learn how to grow grass without being a dick about what you do. But there's less about how to grow humans and how to manage humans. Is that something that's being done more now, or it wasn't done a lot? Or
I'd say it's probably there for people who are already in the role. So when you're going to conferences and seminars and things, there's definitely a lot of that content now for you to sit and listen to. And I think probably for assistants, foremans, even your senior staff, there's never, unless you outsource it yourself or source it yourself, you're probably not going to get it. And I think that's something that I've probably been a little bit conscious with my assistant Jeff, and Richard was with me as well, in just allowing Jeff the time to be able to manage the staff out on the course. It frees me up to do certain parts of my role, but it gives him all the experience that he needs as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I'm probably almost asking from a selfish standpoint, because I'm quite conscious of our team at the moment and making sure that you've got the training at all levels, so that you're actually building. I had a conversation with a guy the other day who's got 1,000 staff or something. Might not be that much, but it's in the mid to high hundreds. And he said that his main focus is shareholder return, so basically making sure the business makes money, which is your deliverables, like making sure the course is at a certain standard. But that and building the skills of the people that work in the business, because obviously if you do that, everything takes care of itself. And I feel like, without putting words in the mouth of the golfing industry, sometimes there's not enough money to go have everything working perfectly and do all this development that we probably might need. But I think as time goes by, there might be a changing. Like, the thing is, like, are you one of the first? Were you in your 30s when you took the super role? Like, will that become a new thing? Will you be one of the first of top tier courses that go, we are going to hire, we're going to start looking, we're going to open up the band of age which is acceptable, kind of thing? Do you think that's changing? Or
I think there's definitely not a trend, but there's definitely a lot of guys my age and girls my age that have been taking jobs like the one that I've got. So I don't think we're the first, but definitely it's
more common.
It's more common, that's for sure. But I think you definitely need to develop the staff underneath you to, everybody should be able to cover off every role.
Like the next person above them, or everyone level with them.
The minute Jeff goes away, I want Susanna to be able to do Jeff's job. And the minute they're both away, I need Mel to be doing Susie and Jeff's job.
Mel can do your job.
Well, that's right, and he has. So that is important. That's important for me. I think it was all like I said before. It was something Richard showed or did quite a bit of, and he actually put me through some management training, and we're doing the same with Jeff, or have done for the last 2 or 3 years, and that's important.
How do you find those sessions? Like, I've been doing some research recently on where to go. Like, is it the Australian Institute of Management? Is it the Harvard online? Like, is that something that you've got committee members that are helping with you, or have you found good? This is more purely selfish, me wanting to know for us. Like, where are you finding those courses? Are they through like training organisations that you already have relationships with?
So we've just got a consultant that comes in to do some HR training or some management training, and it's a one-on-one session. I think that's pretty beneficial. Really, and I guess for me it was about learning where your flaws are, and all the rest of it looks.
So they'll do that with you as well.
Yep. And I went through it sort of 5, 6, 8 years ago, and now we're doing the same thing with Jeff and some other staff as well. So just trying to develop their knowledge around their management style and allows them to see how they manage people.
So that you could work with a consultant like that and say, look, these are the gaps that we think this person's got. Then they'll talk to the person and then provide almost bespoke training that's specifically designed for them.
Yeah, that's
rather
right.
than sitting in a room with another 10 people and all learning a very watered down.
That's right. We do a bit of that as well.
Yep.
Group training with all of our staff. But the senior people in your team, they do the psychoanalysis or whatever they call it, and it shows them where they sit in their management style, and that's exactly right. So you pretty quickly, you read through the document that they give you, and you're just dumbfounded at how much they know about you. But
I've got a few of those documents floating around in here. I've done some crazy ones where they have 7 to 10 people that know you fill out the thing as well.
Yeah,
it's very confronting.
Yeah,
and you're like, I'm not that bad. And I'm like,
yeah, you are.
You are.
Yeah, no, I think it's important. So, and it helped me a lot. So
I think it's important for the individual to be open to that feedback. I think if an individual's closed off to it, then you're kind of wasting everyone's time and money. But if you've got someone that's look, I genuinely I'm looking to grow, and they're open to the feedback, you can get so much value from that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Further into the list of questions that I had here, I was going to ask, you've obviously worked under some very experienced and highly skilled leaders over the years, and obviously I'm referring to the ones that I know. There's obviously more that I don't. And I was going to ask, what have you learnt from them that surprised you, or that that's really helped shape you? Obviously, you talk about Richard allowing you to grow into your role by giving you the space and the access. Is there anything else that you maybe picked up from Steve or Richard or other, even in St Andrews, that you've gone, wow, that's something that I'll always remember, or that's something that I'll always go back to when dealing with my team or with my committee or with my golf course?
Yeah, so all of the guys I've worked under have all been really knowledgeable around turf and management of people, which has been really good. And all the way back to my first superintendent, Ian Thorburn, and another one at Coomiella. I had 2 superintendents there, Glenn Cumming. Those guys have been they shaped me in the early years. I guess I was just a young
I'm assuming bloke. You were a very responsible young bloke as well.
I actually was.
Really?
Responsible. I didn't do anything. I was really responsible, but I just grew up in a small country town.
So you couldn't be irresponsible?
Not really.
Because people would know.
Yeah, pretty much. So, no, I was pretty good. But, those guys, just their work ethic and the way they went about it was pretty good. And working with small budgets, that was important to see as well.
Well, you've been on both sides, right? You've got to go from a small country course to a Kooyonga in immediately.
Yeah,
that's vastly different.
It was incredibly different, and I think that that certainly helps you in some aspects of your job, and obviously working with bigger budgets now at Grange. But there's times when I sort of revert back to that a little bit, and I sort of
can we be more efficient?
Yeah,
can we be,
absolutely, and you try to be as efficient as you can be, but there's a little bit more leeway now. But then I look at Steve Newell. Steve's great operator, great guy, really good at his job, and just the way that he interacted with our staff, it was a bit of white line fever with Steve. Fantastic guy, and as soon as the job we've stepped out of the shed to do the job, it was game on. And that's exactly how it was.
Blinkers on.
That's right. Do it and do it
properly. There's the finish, and we're going there.
That's exactly right, and that I admired him for that.
Harsh but fair.
Yeah, harsh but fair, but I think
but everyone got treated the same, and
absolutely.
Yeah, I had a leader like that early days who, when it was a Domino's franchise, so when the doors were opened, probably similar to when the shed door opened, it's on.
Yeah.
And a joke that you might have got away with when the doors were closed, you're not getting away with when the doors are open.
Yeah.
And I think in the early days, it took me a little while. I was like, what? He was cool 30 minutes ago, and they're like, ovens are on, man.
Yeah.
We're making pizzas now.
That's right.
Yeah. Which it was good for me because it was very clear.
Yeah.
And I think it made it easier for staff that didn't have the same emotional intelligence, because we're dealing with 15, 16. I mean, same with the apprentices that you've got 16, 17, 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
If it's beautifully clear that when you are working, then it's easy for them.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so Steve, really good in that respect. And then, Richie, very much the same. Obviously, Richard worked under Steve for a lot of years as well.
So he's learned,
So I'm sure he picked up those traits as well. Steve, again, presentation-wise, fantastic at keeping things presented and presented really well, and you see that in the courses he looks after.
At course level and staff and sheds, like everything?
Yep. The whole lot.
That's the feeling I get from Rich as well. Like, it's just, if it's inside if it's inside the fence, it's everything's got a place and everything needs to be in its place.
That's right. Yep. And so Richie, again, similar in all those aspects. Richie's a really good planner, so I really got a lot from Richie in that respect as well. So he really took the time to think about how things were going to operate.
I don't think we see it from the outside because of it, but then you kind of think, okay, well, he was talking about that project with me today, and it's not happening for this long.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he's thinking further out.
Puts a lot of effort into how things are gonna work in sequence, I guess, and make sure that things get done properly and
that makes sense
and right. So
that's got to make it easier when you're interacting with your committee and I guess the people, the stakeholders of the golf course, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Especially in a high profile course where a lot of the members are deep in spreadsheets, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of these guys are working with budgets and long-term planning. So
doctors, lawyers, all sorts
if you can plan, with them, then it makes it easier probably for you to do your job without getting too many, people watching over your shoulder.
Yeah, and they like the detail.
Yeah.
They like the detail. They want the detail. So, if you can spend an extra hour planning something and give them exactly what they want, it might get, what you're trying to do across the line, but it sort of puts everyone's minds at ease as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's kind of like, don't assume these guys can't handle what you're about to tell them. Like they're very intelligent. They can handle what you're about to tell them.
That's right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
I'm just thinking when you were talking about working, for Kumiala before Kuyonga, if it had been the other way around, I reckon it would have been quite challenging to go from a higher budget with more staff to a course, which you pretty much didn't. Was Murray Downs like?
Murray Downs still had relatively good resources. They had sort of 13 staff when I started there, so not it wasn't a small country course, but certainly a bit of a change from
compared to what like Mao was dealing with.
Yeah, that's right. I guess
where it was him.
Yeah, probably the hardest thing that I had to adjust to was just, again, getting back to that planning side of things, being able to, you don't have somebody just around the corner that's going to drop off the fungus side.
So yours are resource planning.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So making sure you've got everything on the shelf that you want to use 2 weeks in advance.
Yep.
And that, because I wasn't used to that was something that I had to adjust to pretty quickly. But it wasn't a major issue. Everything was sort of within a week you'd get it, but it just wasn't right there.
Especially for products that are time sensitive.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, you are quite spoiled here. There seems to be more fertilizer and chemical representation and supply companies than are required.
Yeah.
So if one of them won't get it there within the hour, someone else will.
That's exactly right.
You're very spoiled for that.
Yeah.
If you've obviously got 2 young men, if that's fair. If one of them comes home from school in 5 years and says, "Hey, Dad, I'm going to be a greenkeeper," what's your reaction? Where would you point them, and would you shortcut their learnings, or would you make them do it themselves?
I'd try and point them away from greenkeeping.
This is not good for you.
I've already had to try and point them away from greenkeeping, but they're around the course so much that they love.
And they're probably around younger men who are cool.
Yeah.
Who work in that.
Oh, they think it's they think it's a bit of a rock star sort of a trade.
Yeah.
But
well, they just got to drive around at Live, right?
Well, that's right.
They were rock stars.
Yeah. So they get in the buggies and come for a drive out on the course, and they love it. But where would I point them?
Like you went and did. You're an apprenticeship. Would you try and get them in a smaller course? If they were adamant they were going to do it, would they get a job under you, or is that too nepotistic? Is that the right word? Would you rather make a few phone calls, or would you just say, look, you guys want to do this, you do it on your own?
Yeah, I'd absolutely rather they worked somewhere else. I don't think I could work with my 2 kids.
They will mature.
They'd kill me.
They are still
not the other way around.
Yeah.
I'd point them to another club. Yep. I think if they really wanted to get into the trade, good luck to them. I love my job, and if they were, into golf and really love it that much, then why not?
Yep.
But Yeah, I couldn't work with them, but do the hard yards. I'm a little bit of an old school sort of a person like that. I would always point them to.
Who would you send them to?
Oh, don't know.
Send them to Glenelg.
Timmy.
He won't do him any favours.
No,
He'll be like,
he's a bit
Damon.
He's a bit airy-fairy. He'd let their rubbish slide through. He's all right.
I reckon he'd be like, we are going to make these kids earn their money.
Yeah, maybe.
Anything that ever happened to... You know how you get those... Like, when I was an apprentice, they treated me like shit, so I'm going to treat everyone like shit for the rest of my life. I don't know if he would have had that, but you kind of... You'll send them to one of those courses.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm hoping that's changing a bit, and I'm starting to see it. I think, obviously, you talked before about, the turf grass seminars and the amount of speakers that are now talking about the education that's occurring, but the amount of education that's focused around mental health, well-being, bullying, that kind of thing. I think that kind of hazing of apprentices hopefully is diluting. I mean, I think it's still there.
I would hope it is.
But I think that's a generational change, and I think when you get younger leaders, like you come in, and then the person that's below you becomes the super. I think that's when it starts to kind of almost all go. Because I reckon, especially in the country courses and the, where there's less awareness or less education around how that's impacting people. Is it around? Like, is it around still? And not necessarily at your course, but is there still that kind of like, even the fun stuff like go get me some striped paint, we're going to do the sheds today, or whatever. Like,
Oh, look, I'm sure there is a little bit of that sort of stuff, but for us at Grange, it's more just banter, I guess.
Yeah. So what would be considered harmless? Yeah.
Yeah, just harmless stuff. Yeah.
Do your team interact with each other, like out of work? Like, are they friends?
Yeah.
Like, have you found that it's a decently tight group?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, and I would always try and encourage that, because I had that same thing at every club that I worked at. You certainly get a more cohesive group of people at work if they're mates outside of work.
Yeah.
I find, and they go and play golf. The guys go and play golf every couple of weeks.
At the course?
They could do. There's quite a few that do play there, but they go and play down at Port Adelaide there, or Semaphore or somewhere. There's a little par 3.
Okay.
Glanville, I think it is. Yeah.
I like that. Just go play a par 3. It's like, we've spent enough time on a golf course, we're just going to do an hour and a half.
Yeah, so they head down there, and we also do a lot of social stuff at Grange as well. So we've got our own little social fund that the club contribute to, which is really good. So sort of 3 or 4 times a year we'll be out with the group, going out for dinner or beers or whatever.
That's really good. I think proximity, like it's interesting, kind of when you work with people, you tend to spend more time with them outside of work, and I think it's because you're around them all the time, and you're like, oh, I'm free Friday. Yeah. So it's not like not that your other friends that you've grown up with aren't free. It's just that you've kind of got that proximity. So you're like, and because you're all leaving the same location at the same time, you could go do stuff together.
That's right.
I've asked you that. If you could, this is an interesting one. If you could change anything around how golf is managed, or golf courses are managed, either front of house, back of house, it could be anything, right? Committee led versus individually owner led, hole placements, opening hours, whatever. And you could just flick a switch and it would be changed straight away. What would you change, if anything? Like no golfers.
Yeah. Oh, look, I think
half the amount of golfers.
It's maybe not half the amount of golfers, but certainly
on course.
It's becoming harder and harder to prepare the places with the expectations that we've got, with the amount of golf that they're forcing through the club, and that's not just Grange. That's everywhere.
Well, you wouldn't be on the top of that list either, would you? There'd be courses that are playing even more.
Yeah, there'd be. I mean, I look at.
I hear some numbers like Tea Tree Gully's numbers. And
Tea Tree Gully get a lot of golf. So. We do get a lot of golf, but and I would say that Grange is probably pretty good with the amount of time that they give us to get works done, or taking holes out of play at times to try and get some extra work done on areas. But it's certainly a problem. I think you've got this expectation all the time that you're going to need to prepare the place year round. Like, it's no longer just seasonal, where
Or
you
even
can,
when it's raining.
yeah, you've got great conditions in
Yep.
summer, and then it slowly drops off in autumn, and then in winter it's a bog, and then
Yeah.
spring you're coming back.
Yep.
It's not like that anymore. You
Well,
need
if it's not raining, people will play, right?
oh
Ultimately, and they'll play in the rain
They'll
as
play
well.
in the rain. It's,
As long as there's no
yeah.
lightning, people will play.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right. So it really has become a year-round sort of necessity to have good conditions, and people don't distinguish between budgets for that.
Yep.
There might be a slightly less expectation at a smaller club, but they'll still want a pretty good surface
Yeah.
all year round. And I don't feel like some clubs probably give the people the time they need with the budgets and the resources that they've got to be able to uphold that. So
Do you think that there's a disconnect between the expectations and the realistic deliverables, and that maybe that's not being communicated from, say, committee or from general management or whoever from back to the members?
I think superintendents probably try to communicate that and probably do it reasonably well.
Yep.
But it's just a balance between keeping the membership happy.
Yeah.
And
Well, they are your bosses, right? Ultimately.
Exactly. Yep.
You do an email out to your... you do like a communication piece regularly?
Yeah, every fortnight
Yep.
I do an e-newsletter.
So that gives you the ability to explain what's going on.
Yep. We talk about what's happening on course, new staff, do profiles and that sort of thing.
Yep.
So
Challenges, reasons why things might be where they are.
yep, that's right. So try and pick out a topical sort of an issue every fortnight and expand on it. But it can't, not. I find that a lot of people don't read it, which is probably normal. But
It's interesting. It's probably more important that you do it than not, even if they don't read it.
Yep.
Because it shows that you are communicating. And how many members have you guys got?
2,100 or something.
So if 50 read it, they're the 50 that are deeply involved in communicating their needs, wants and desires around the golf course.
Yep.
And if that 50 are getting covered off, then you're probably going to reduce the amount of annoying conversations that you might have to have with 50 people.
Yep.
And they all know.
Yep.
So it's probably being read more than you think, but you're right, it would be being not looked at by a lot of people.
Yeah.
The obviously Live has just occurred. The biggest party in golf at your golf course. The first thing I had a mate of mine call me the other day because he was trying to get a membership at the Grange, and he's like, "It's at 4.5 years. Is that like off the back of Live, or were you guys kind of membership waiting lists were starting to blow out?
I think
after COVID maybe.
I think the waiting list was definitely creeping up, but since Live, it's we've signed on quite a few members, I believe. So
Yeah. So it's Live, and I've got a few questions about Live, but Live's been great for the club.
absolutely,
From a 50,000 foot view kind of thing. I'm sure there's
it's just
things that it has caused problems as well, but
but it's just exposure that you can't buy that sort of exposure.
Yep.
So there's off the back of the tournament, there's, who knows, 20, 30, 40, 50 members might join up, and that's generational sustainability for the club. They might turn into 30, 40, 50 year members of the club. So
especially considering Live's probably targeted at a younger audience. That's what golf courses are trying to sell, right? The 20 to 30 year olds.
Yep.
Which is where they kind of struggle, and I've seen golf courses do discounts for that younger generation, which feels kind of almost illegal to me. But well, it seems discriminatory, but obviously no one seems to be too concerned about it. So they're signing up younger members.
Yep.
And once they're in, they're kind of in.
Yeah.
And then their kids start playing, and then
That's right.
Now is the talk that we did with Rowan up live on Spotify and YouTube, the last one, deal? Like the talk that Rowan did the interview that we did at the Open Spaces, that's up on all channels? All channels. Yeah, so won't go too much into Live. If anyone wants to listen, Rowan did a talk with us at an Open Spaces event recently, and you'll be able to find that on there. But I will talk a little bit about it for anyone that isn't going to head over there. So give me the kind of like the detail on how this all comes about, right? So you're merrily just cruising along being golf course super and just mowing the lawn and watering the lawn, and at some point you get a phone call saying, "Hey, like, guess what?" And you're like, "What the fuck? When?" And they're like, "You got 2 months." Like, talk me through that process.
Yeah, it was a little bit like that. there was nothing on the horizon, and I guess for us it's a little bit...
Like, it wasn't even on the radar, right?
Nah, not at all. And obviously the Women's Open had vacated, and that sort of spelt the end of...
And you just exhale.
Yeah, that spelt the end of tournament golf in South Australia for a little while, and that was a bit demoralising, I guess, because it's when you've held those big events, it is good to keep having them, and when they disappear, it's a bit sad. But I was just working away, and had a call from the manager, and he just said that Liv were going to be coming to visit. They had plans to bring a tournament to Australia, and then there was 10 or 12 clubs that they were going to visit around the country, and we were the only one in SA, which I thought was pretty good. Obviously the Greg Norman connection with the East Course, and so that was I guess there was a connection with all of the clubs, but it was the fact that we're 36 holes, a big enough property that had held those sort of events or big international events before. I've just had a bit of a feeling that we might have been in the running. And anyway, when they came to visit, the club did a pitch to them, and committee all came along and sat down with them, and realistically asked them whether or not we'd be right to hold the event, and they were pretty happy with the club and our pitch and the course. And so it was sort of went quiet for a little while after that, and no one heard anything. And then the manager happened to ring a guy named Ron Cross, who was working for Liv at the time, and he just said, and I think Ron's still working there, but he rang Ron, and Ron said, well, we're already in discussions with the government. And from then on it sort of just snowballed, and it was a little while before we could actually let the news out. But when we could, it was pretty exciting. So
you're right, like all of those things do make sense. I think the proximity to the city and the airport is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, you think about 2 golf courses, how far from the airport? 10 minutes?
Yeah, 10 minutes.
Nuts.
Yep.
And obviously the government would have had a big hand. I think without the support of any state would have required the support of the government to be able to do something.
Yep.
And I think it feels like one of those things where everything just lined up perfectly.
Yep.
New government looking to, like a sporting leader, keen to kind of put their stamp on their leadership in South Australia.
Yep.
Made a lot of sense. So you get told that, then you're like, all right, so when do you need it ready by?
Yeah.
And short time frame?
Yeah, we had about 5 months to get it ready.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah. So we had a bit of a countdown on the whiteboard at work, and I think it was about 117 days that we started counting out from. And so it was, that didn't start the minute that I found out, but from when we sort of got the dates finalised, because that was something that didn't come along straight away either. So that was important to get the dates locked in. But as soon as we did that, the notice went up on the board, 117 days to go, and then it was all systems go, and everyone was pumped, until we sort of got stuck into getting things done, and then it was long hours. And I would say that there's a bit of a lag there in the excitement levels, because you find out about it and it's all systems go and everyone's up and about, but then you've still got 100 days of long hours, and the guys did an exceptional job, and for not having worked at tournaments before and not knowing,
because a lot of the guys hadn't.
No, and it was important to try and relay exactly what I expected of them and what they should expect from the whole deal. But even the amount of talking that I did about it, I don't think they really understood how much work had to be done to get it to where it needed to get to and where it got to, and how good the feeling was after the final putt went in, and you can sort of take a breath. And
did you ever feel like you weren't going to make it?
Yep.
Like, legitimately, like, we are fucked.
Yep, all the time.
Like, every day?
Not every day. It was sort of, you'd sort of get through 2 weeks of stressful, geez, we're not...
Well, you're not looking up, so you just...
Yeah, you're not going to be ready.
Every problem that comes up, you just deal with it as it comes up. And then...
Yeah, that's right. And then all of a sudden you do take a breath and you're like, oh, geez, I reckon we're going to be all right here. And then you come to work the next day and you're panicked again. People are having days off, or you know, all the guys have got to go to TAFE this day, and so you don't get done what you need to get done, and then you start panicking again.
Burning all those TAFE contracts. Like, you guys are all on medical leave. You're not doing TAFE.
Yeah, I guess the timing of the event was key for that. If it had been in the peak of summer, it would have been difficult to get that place up for the event.
And who do you talk to then, like, from both sides? One from a practical deliverable standpoint, but then from a support standpoint. Like, have you got someone in the business that you can go, look, this is, or do you just shut up and just work it out?
No, I would just shut up and work it out.
Old school.
Yeah.
Bottle up those problems.
Yeah,
alcohol puts the fire out.
That's right. Yeah. Just brush it under the carpet, but
deal with the anxiety.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, I guess. No is the short answer to that.
Just got on with it.
Oh, look, I knew in the back of my mind that it was going to happen.
Well, it was going ahead with or without your preparedness.
And that's exactly right. Whether the event, whether the course was ready or not, it was happening. And I think we've probably seen that a little bit with some of the events that Liv have had.
Where, like, looking from the outside, the course probably wasn't
not
where they
quite.
might have liked it.
Yeah, but and it's maybe not even that they didn't have the time frame, but the tournaments maybe just haven't been held at the right time of
year. From a weather standpoint.
From the weather point of view. So.
Do you think that most people would see it, though? Like, I wouldn't have really known.
No, probably not.
But golfers would.
Yeah.
The golfers would know.
Well, every greenkeeper watches those events and probably thinks,
I could have
we
done
pick it apart, but that's just what we do. But I take my hat off to those guys that are preparing them outside of what is normal, because it's a bloody tough gig.
If you got told that there was never going to be another big tournament at Grange ever again, would you be more inclined to look for different employment? Like, do you get that much from it that you'd like be like, ugh, I need to go do some big stuff? Or you're happy, like, the day-to-day gets you that fulfillment, and that the tournament stuff's just that kind of icing on the cake?
Well, there's enough events
because there's always something
at golf clubs to keep you entertained. I mean, there's always,
especially a course like the Grange that's got the two courses and the amount of kind of, what is it, corporate plus tournament.
That's right. Yeah. And construction wise as well, there's enough there to keep you mentally.
Yeah, because I think sometimes, and without putting words in your mouth, you could probably get caught. You're inside the same fences every day, and you're looking after the same plot of land every day.
Yeah.
And I think there would be a risk that either you or your team could start to get a bit stir crazy if there's not those different things.
Yeah.
So that's why I ask it, just out of curiosity. Like, if there was a more tournament-driven golf course, you're like, yeah, no, I would. Because there's also probably going to be a point where too many tournaments and you have a mental breakdown.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's stressful. It is stressful, but it's great fun. And I guess if it goes off as well as what Liv just did in April, then things are rosy.
Yep.
But if you're prepared, or if you're not prepared for an event, and the event comes along and everyone's looking at a course that's underdone, I could see how that
jobs on the line kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess it.
Maybe?
Possibly, but I wouldn't like to think so. There's so many variables that go into getting the place ready that not everything's gonna be perfect all the time, and I don't think people would have been watching. Greenkeepers, like I said, watch those events and they sort of go, oh, geez, look at that. That tee's not right, or that green's slow, or whatever it might be. But the normal golfer isn't looking at that sort of thing. And I think members at Grange, I was really unhappy with the firmness of the greens during the event, but they were running at 13.5 feet.
So they were doing what you want, what they had told you to do.
Well, close to.
Yep.
There was some things. We had a lot of rain the week before that sort of softened the greens up, but they maintain their speed, and so people would have been watching it thinking, geez, the greens aren't all that firm.
Yep.
I even had a chat with Cam Smith, and he said, geez, I wish the greens were firmer. I
Sorry,
thought, so do I. But I can appreciate him saying that, and I can appreciate people looking from the outside in and going, geez, I wish the greens were a bit firmer.
Yep.
And that's exactly what I did. But it's not everything's going to be perfect,
and they're all playing the same green.
Oh, that's right.
Right, like,
that's right.
It just might be more in line with a more enjoyable play for them.
Yep.
You mentioned Cam Smith. Obviously, without you, I wouldn't have got to meet Cam Smith. He came down to the sheds on the Thursday, I think, after the Pro-Am.
Yeah, that's right.
explain to me how that came about and the importance. I obviously I know the answer to the question while I'm asking it, but the importance of that to your team and kind of why it all happened.
Yeah, well, I mean, I met him at the welcome dinner the night prior, and I was just talking to him about the course, and I built it up
Accidentally, right? Like,
yeah,
he
yeah.
didn't really know who you were.
Oh, he had no
you
idea
didn't
who
know
I
who
was.
he was.
Yeah, no, never seen him around. But yeah, I sort of there was a light show out on the Oval at Adelaide Oval where the event was held, and I just went out into the stands to sit down to watch it along with everyone else, and right behind me, literally the seat behind me, was Cam Smith, so I was a bit of a fangirl. Yeah, and I sort of just sparked up a conversation about the course, and I think he sort of knew that I knew a bit about the place when we started talking. And anyway, I just said to him, after your round tomorrow in the Pro-Am, do you mind popping down to the shed to meet everybody? And he's like, yeah, no worries. So,
and he doesn't even flinch with that. Hey, like,
nah, he didn't.
Yep,
he did not care. He was more than happy to do so.
And it took him longer to get there than he was able to spend.
Yeah, Jeff, I wasn't actually there, but Jeff said it took him about 45 minutes to drive 400 metres down to the shed because everyone wanted to mob him.
Well, he would have been in the top 5, maybe number 1 of who people wanted to meet.
Oh, absolutely.
That day, obviously, we caught up with Bubba, and he was pretty swamped. Like you could almost, it was almost they were like, I have to go. I've got to tee off. Like, I found that Thursday was probably one of my favourite days because of the lack of density of people there. Like you're able to kind of really get around and look around and watch golf. And
well, it's the practice days there was no spectators allowed. So the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, no spectators. So our staff worked split shifts. Well, they didn't on the Monday, but Tuesday, Wednesday we worked split shifts, and so in between hours, our staff were out there just wandering around, talking to the golfers on the greens, raking the bunkers for them. Just literally shoulder to shoulder with Dustin Johnson, and on the putting green.
Shoulder to shoulder with Dustin
No,
Johnson.
I wouldn't be shoulder to shoulder. But yeah, these guys that have worked with us for 10 years sort of thing, and they're just out there alongside these sort of guys. It's just unreal. You just don't get that sort of experience.
And from what I can see, most of them are really good people. Like they don't act like they're above golf, or they're above people that prepare golf courses, or they're above spectators. Like they're very. I don't know whether or not Liv intentionally signed those kind of guys. Like,
I think it's just
the concept had to be welcoming and inviting. And, if you had some arrogant dickhead golfers, even if they were really good, it's not going to work.
I think just the Liv's business model is have fun, and they just come with that mentality. Because even through the week, when the spectators did start rolling in, there was an element of they sort of shied away from the crowds a little bit, but not as much as normal tournaments.
They don't come out until they're teeing off.
So, and you just can't get near them. Whereas I felt like it was just different. It was just different.
Well, they were interacting with the crowd, right? Like they'd walk around. You've got your fences up behind tee blocks, and they'd be like, just talking, making funny comments, giving each other shit. Like it was. I enjoyed it, and I made a video about how I think that it was funny. I don't know if that's going to age well, because I was saying how Liv will destroy the PGA. But regardless of whether or not that comment's completely true, it's changed the PGA forever. Right, like it can't.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see which way it goes.
So what happens from here with that? Like they're obviously now connected, but they're still operating separately. They're finishing their seasons.
I really don't know.
Like in general, not just related to what you guys are doing.
As far as I know, the season will go ahead next year as planned or as contracted, and
the Liv season and the PGA season separately.
And then beyond that, I mean,
because obviously they've probably both got some running contracts that they have to complete before they can go. Well, okay, 2025 we're gonna change the way things are, and everyone's kind of coming back.
It'd be disappointing to see Liv disappear. I think
you were looking for more of a hybrid.
Yeah, it would be good to see. Yeah, just meet in the middle, sort of thing. But who knows how that's going to work?
Like, still have the 12th?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? Wouldn't you?
But then every other hole on the course, everyone's just
that's right. Yeah.
You're like, do you want to have fun? 12th.
Yeah.
The rest of the course,
Oh, look, I think there's middle ground to be made. If Liv is to disappear, after next year, there's certainly middle ground to be met, I think. Yeah.
So, as far as you'll be doing one more Liv.
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn from the last one that you might do differently this year, if anything?
Well,
You'll have more runway?
There's probably a chance that we might have a little bit more runway, but I don't have a date for the next one yet, so there may also be a chance that I don't have any more runway. But it's look, if the event comes a little bit earlier in the year, which I don't know whether it will or not, but if it does, then that's the only thing that will really change.
Because they've locked in Gather Round. That moved,
I reckon Gather Round's still in April.
It is?
I think
they moved it, but
I think it might be, but that's really the only.
Because that's going to impact it, right? Like they can't have that at the same time.
Nah, not at all.
And so the V8s
and the Fringe.
That's in November, so late November. That's fine. Fringe March.
WOMAD. Then the Masters.
Yeah.
So it's
the golfers also have to have the time to get here, right?
It worked really well to have the Masters and then live at Grange, just purely just for us to have Brooks Koepka almost win, and then a couple of weeks later he's playing at Grange.
That weather was amazing as well, and
it was.
I don't know how you're going to sneak that again.
Nah.
But I was a bit worried that it was going to start to get wet as we kind of got further in, and it was wet leading, like you just said, it was wet leading into it. But I think even a hole like the 12th, if it was really, really hot, it could have got really dangerous. I mean, it was dangerous already.
Yeah.
And if it was 35, things kind of getting a little bit out of control.
Yeah, I'd like to see it still in April, but
Well, you'll just get told.
Well, that's right. Yeah. Yep.
You've obviously got a good recipe for how you did it. You've got volunteers that you might call on again. Obviously, suppliers that supported you through your breakfast, lunches, and dinners.
Yep.
I'm guessing a lot of that you already know. I know for us, we were like, whatever we did this year, we'll do it again next year. Just call me. So they're phone calls that are going to be easy, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Even the guys that came from interstate to help, I'm sure a lot of them are like, you just call me, mate.
Yeah, we actually had a conversation with a lot of them and sort of said if the opportunity's there, do you want to come back? And most of them said yes. But I guess it's that decision's not also up to me. I'll approach their superintendents first and sort of ask whether
they're in work time in a way, aren't they?
Well, yeah, and they might, whilst it might be easier for me, they might also have a young apprentice that they want to send over instead of the guy that's already done it.
Last time,
that's probably the way I look at it. But I'd certainly like to think that a couple of them might be back.
Has being involved in it opened up any doors for you? Obviously, you've been asked to speak a little bit. Do you think it'll change? It's on your resume now. How important do you think that is, and do you think it'll make a substantial difference and I'm not saying you're looking for another job, but when you go to look for, if you ever went to go for another job, it's a big thing.
Obviously, if I'm looking for a job at a club that's going to be holding big events, most definitely. But
even your ability to handle pressure, right? That's not in any job. Here's an unrealistic target.
Yeah,
go sort it out. Right?
Yeah, I guess a little bit. It does look good on my CV, and it has. I guess that it's allowed. I'm doing things like this, and I've had to get up at the conference recently. And
to be fair, I liked you before you were famous.
Oh, well, that's good. So, that's good. Well, I'm not famous.
You just kept saying no. You just kept saying no to coming on the podcast.
That's right. I just I think it's certainly forcing me, I guess, to do a lot of things that maybe I wouldn't have done or got the chance to do. Yeah, definitely. And they're things that I certainly wanted to get better at, and I've just sort of been thrust into it a little bit. But
you kind of almost have a responsibility to the rest of your team and the club as well, right? This isn't just about you going out and talking about it. It's the club's invested a lot of money in getting these things. The government have invested a lot of money, so you kind of, regardless of if you want to do it, you kind of have to. Yeah, well, I guess, and that's the way I look at it. I'm not here to promote myself. I'm probably the least likely person to blow my own tyres up. I probably,
I'd probably say it's more just about promoting the club as best I can.
On that, are you struggling with recruitment? And would this kind of thing help you find staff? Obviously, all the trades that we deal with are struggling to find people, and I think it's probably starting to turn a little bit now as the economy starts to contract thanks to interest rate rises. But have you got a funnel of? Is it easy for you to find people, or are you?
It hasn't been. We put out a job advert to find some qualified staff after the event in the hope that we'd pick up some off the back of it.
That are like, ooh.
Yeah, we had 5 qualified applicants, which I never get an applicant that's qualified. So, that was a win, and we got 3 guys off the back of that we employed. So
even if you didn't need them, you were kind of like, let's grab.
Well, yeah,
in a way,
it's at that point now. If you go to put on an apprentice and you get, I guess for a club like us, we might put on 2 at once. If I was to have 4 good interviews, I'm at the point where I'll put on 4 apprentices.
Yeah, guys, I'm taking these guys.
That's exactly right.
Because you're going to get some natural attrition. Like, you'll lose 1 or 2. And it's funny, we've done that. We've hired... Matt's interviewed people. He's like, they're both really good. Hire them both.
Yep.
And not generally, but in some cases they'll leave. And if they don't, it's because they're amazing.
Yep. So, we have had trouble finding people, but, it's... back off the back of tournament, we've been pretty lucky. Sense. Yeah.
And I think I might have even said this when we did our last talk. Like, Supers can't say it, but the golf industry is very different to a lot of other industries, and it's very ancestral. And if you don't shake the right hands and kiss the right babies and perform the right things at the right times, you're not going to get the job.
Yeah.
And so, getting a senior role at a course that like you have, it compares a lot differently to getting a management role at whatever I say is going to piss someone off, but getting a management role at a fast food restaurant, or because it's a lot of times there's more to it than just your resume.
Yep.
There's all this other politics. So to be able to get a job like that means in a lot of cases you deserve it. Not all cases, because I'm sure there's some out there where you're just like, how the fuck did he get that job? But I can only imagine how that was like.
Yeah.
And you got to come back to Adelaide. Was that important?
That was life down in Murray Downs.
Did you go on your own, or did you take your family?
No, I took the family at the time.
So that's very disruptive.
Yeah, it was. And, we sort of had a house in Adelaide at the time, and we sold that. We actually sold it after moving back because I needed to, buy a house down closer to Grange. So I ended up selling that then. But, it just put a lot of things in motion that, to then have to come back, it was sort of like, oh God, this is going to be hard. But
was that an awkward conversation with Murray Downs? Like, hey guys, thanks for the last 8 months, but got my dream job, see ya.
Yeah, because I probably think I'm pretty loyal sort of a person, and
you didn't feel like you'd done enough yet. Like, you kind of would have been nice if the Grange job came up another year later.
But then I sort of think to myself, and this is what made me apply for the job, is if I'd have been away for another 12 months, 2 years, I wouldn't have been in the mix to get the position.
Yep. Because you'd been away from South Australia and the club
too
long?
Yep. And I think, there's a lot of good...
Or there's a lot of committee heads that still knew who you were.
No, more about just them forgetting, who I was a little bit, I guess.
Yep.
And, there's Adam Fry at Kooyonga and Jeff, my assistant. These sorts of guys were looking around for those sorts of jobs as well, and
they've got the pedigree, they've got the
that's right. Yep.
And if they had another year underneath a very highly skilled super at a very good course, plus you're fading away in the memories of these people.
Yeah,
the sliding doors moment. I guess you're never really going to know.
Yep. And then other superintendents at some of the second tier clubs as well might have been in the mix for the position. So I think it was a little bit of an awkward conversation, but I had to have it. And
what were you going to do? Just not rock up to work?
Well,
like, where's Rowan? It's like he's left a note.
Yeah,
he's back in Adelaide.
And so Greg, the manager at Murray Downs, he was really good about it. He supported me even though I'd only been there a little while. He could see that I had to do it. So
do they struggle to find staff? Is it because it's kind of remote, or?
Yeah, I think they probably did when I got the job. Yep. I think a guy named Terry Dewhurst is down there now, and I think Terry's from Swan Hill originally. Okay. So, but he's got a lot of experience as well, being overseas and that sort of thing too. So I think they've done pretty well to snag Terry, and it's probably a little bit more difficult down there to find someone.
Obviously, Liv, pack up all their stands and drive off to the next big city. What's the aftermath like? Like, is there much damage to the course, or it's kind of...
No, not really. I think all of the areas where the stands were have come back really well, but it's more about the thoroughfares, so areas where they're bringing...
Crossings.
Yeah, stuff like that. We've had to replace about 2,000 or 3,000 square metres of turf, but that's about as much as you'd replace for any sort of big event, whether it was a Women's Open or Ed Sheeran at Adelaide Oval or
I was going to
whatever
say,
it might
sport
be.
like Adam Lewis was talking about the amount of turf they have to replace from a stage. Like, it's the same amount, right?
Yeah, so and Live assist with that repair cost as well. So,
do you think the majority of the members, if given the opportunity, would continue to have it?
Yeah,
like they feel like it's... I mean, I remember seeing Grange members, and they you could see how excited they were. They had their, their actual access band to the... Because obviously they could go into the club themselves where no one else could go. Like, it looked like they really enjoyed being part of it. And I'm sure in any situation like that, you're going to find there's going to be some that are like, this is bullshit. I want to play my golf on Sunday. Who the fuck are these guys? Yeah. But the majority are supportive.
Yeah. Yep. 99% of them. Yeah.
Obviously inside a golf course, you've got different skill sets. And there's an irrigation, there's mechanics, there's spraying and mowing. Is there a certain job inside there that you think has the most job security moving forward into the next 10 or 20 years? Like, if you one of your boys was like, I'm going to get into greenkeeping, and you're like, look, if that's what you want to do, focus on the irrigation, or focus on the
irrigation most definitely. And
it's hard to find those guys.
Well, it is hard to find them, and it's probably
and girls
and girls. Yep, it's I think for me, I'm definitely looking for somebody to move into a position like that, and the thing that I want people to do in those roles is actually take the job and make it their own. And it's not just, you're not just turning up at 5:30.
Jeff was your irrigation.
Yeah.
And he did that, right?
And he still does. Yeah. And he still does. Yeah. So
but the problem is you want him to do that where he can't do that.
That's exactly right. So he's out there managing the staff day to day, and
then he's still trying to do the irrigation.
That's exactly right. So
kind of what like Pleaky's done at Royal, right? Like
exactly.
Have a key irrigation guy or girl who that's what they take pride in, making sure that the course's irrigation system is up to scratch or better all the time.
That's right, and it's not 5:30 till 2. It's not just fixing leaks. It's dealing with bore contractors and you guys and
scheduling.
That's right. We've got potentially a new system going in the next couple of years, and I want somebody that's going to be able to sit down with me and plan what we're going to do.
Rather than just like, what are we doing, Rowan?
That's right.
What do you think we should do?
Yeah, you tell me. And so we've got 2 systems. We've got a wetland system. We've got a bore network.
Water's not getting any cheaper.
No, that's right. So it's such an important role that people, I feel like the job, Phil does it perfectly over at RA. Yeah. They need to take it and make it their own.
Yeah. It's we do a bit of training for the irrigation industry, and I'm talking to some training organisations about what more we can do. I enjoy doing delivering the trainings, but it feels like it's the amount of time that we've got and the amount of irrigation trained people that we need to have don't match up. And you're like, we can't make 100 irrigation techs in a year. Like they need 4 years or 5 years to go out there and work under someone like Pleaky or work under someone like Jeff and go. It's those little things that you don't try every day, right? Like when a blowout happens and the bore's switched off and then there's a cable involved and they're like, shit, I don't know where to start. You're only going to get that from doing it, right?
That's right, experience.
What do you think the future of golf looks like in Australia and the world? Like, there was concern before Live that golf was declining from some people and that less people were playing. Are you seeing that? Or obviously your course is busier than ever, but pre-COVID, did it look like the golf was in trouble in your mind?
Oh, I don't think it was in trouble, but it was certainly certainly declining a little bit. But COVID's really brought it back to life, and that's when our waiting list sort of got back up, or formed again, and again off the back of Live, it's just exploded. But I don't know. I guess it's going to go through peaks and troughs, and maybe with the current economical climate, it sort of might die again a little bit over time.
Like a golf membership, something that people might drop when the pennies get tight or
Well,
sell their golf.
exactly,
I mean,
yeah.
what is golf clubs and treadmills?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. The mortgage repayments get a little bit more, and people can see off the golf membership. And
And that might not affect the bigger clubs, but it might affect the tier 2s and the smaller country. Or it depends. I guess it's probably in the middle because the country clubs, their fees aren't really that high, are they?
No, they're not.
Like
No.
$300 or whatever it might be. But
Yep.
so then, the question that I have that I asked you a little bit before: if I were a magic genie and I could transfer you to anywhere in the world to do any job in the world, and you've got all the pre-qualifications, everyone that you care about moves with you, where would you go and what would you do? Anything.
Any job.
Any job. V8 supercar driver, famous movie actor, highly skilled videographer and editor.
I think we'd all fly fighter jets, wouldn't we?
I don't know. There's a very quick way to die. You'd want to be good. You want to be Tom Cruise. You want to be Maverick good if you're going to do that.
He's not good, is he?
He can fly.
He's just a movie man.
No.
No, he's
You're underestimating.
no.
You'd be about his size, actually. You could be Tom Cruise. It's just there. No, he can fly. He does his own stunts.
Yep.
Fighter pilot.
Yeah, why not?
It would be pretty cool to fly those planes.
It'd be epic, mate. Everyone's looking at you, turning that thing inside out. It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, you got all the skill.
Yeah, look, I don't know what else I'd do. I love the golf industry and I love my job.
What would you leave the Grange or superintending to do? Like take that off the table. Like, but get one of those cushy sales rep jobs. They look pretty good.
Nah.
Just drive around selling fertilizer.
Yeah. Goodness, I really don't know what I'd do.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'd do. Maybe no, I don't know.
Consulting.
Consulting.
That's good. It's ambiguous. You get paid a lot of money. You do little amounts of work, and no one really knows if you tell what you're saying is right or wrong. So
Oh God. Yeah, no, I don't know, mate.
well, there you go. So fighter pilot, and then you're going to probably die on a golf course.
That's right. Yeah.
You still playing?
No. I probably play twice a year.
But not scoring a card. You'll just play Ambrose.
No, just Ambrose.
Yep.
Yep. That's my wheelhouse now. So
And you were low single figure.
I sort of got down to 5 or 6,
Yep.
and that was where my attitude managed to get me.
I remember one of the first times I reckon I ever met you. We played golf together at the Vines,
Okay.
and you we were paired up in an Ambrose, and you fucking sent this 3-iron or 4-iron, and it was just amazing. And I was like, fuck, like I never expected the golf course supers to be able to play golf. Like it wasn't something that I put. But there's so many of you that can play golf.
Yep.
Like Benny Hallam, and
Oh, Ben.
even Joy Sherritt, like.
Yep.
They can play.
They're real players.
And I think,
Yep.
well, it's probably similar to how you got involved. You get around a golf course as a youngster,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden you start working on a golf course.
Well, that's right. Yeah, I was a golfer before I was a greenkeeper. So, and yeah, I played regular golf up until I was 30,
Yep.
32. And sort of the last 8 years I've given it away a little bit.
Is it a skill that you want your boys to have?
Absolutely.
Do they play? Do they get around a bit?
They've been to lessons before and they can hit it. They can hit it
They're
pretty
okay.
well.
So they're going to be okay.
Yeah, they'll be okay. I'd love to probably get them into it, relatively soon. I could think of nothing better than going on a golf trip with my kids, and
Yeah.
when they're a bit older. And
I ask because obviously my kids are 10 and 6, and I've been thinking about it recently. Like, I think it's a good life skill. I think golf is amazing from a human interaction standpoint, a respect standpoint, an honor standpoint. The fact that you're kind of self-regulating most of the time,
Yep.
eye contact, shaking hands, like taking hats off, like not going into clubhouses with,
Yep.
The wrong attire. Like, there's so much there that teaches young people how to interact with adults how I think you should, and it might not be in line with what everyone thinks. But there's so much business gets done on the golf course.
Yeah.
And if you can run around in 18 or less kind of thing, like, you're going to be fine.
Yep.
Whereas I'm 30. I think now that they've changed the handicap
You're
system, I'm
shocking.
fucking fucked.
You're a terrible golfer.
I'm blowing out to 50. I reckon I'm going to try and get out to 54 and then just storm Ambrose events. All right. Well, that's good. Thanks for that feedback. I've got nothing else for you. That is it. Thank you very much for coming in. I really appreciate
Thanks, mate.
the amount of time that you've given us,
Yeah.
both with this and then talking at the open spaces recently. And if anyone wants to know any more about Rowan, you can try and find him on socials. He doesn't want to talk to you, so
Yes, I do. Why wouldn't I?
you're like, I don't want to do this shit. And if anyone wants to learn more about the Grange, obviously their website's probably the best place to start to find out all the information. That waiting list, if you want to get on it, jump on it now and wait your 4.5 years. Mm-hmm. It might come down. Hopefully the interest rates force out the pause.
Mm.
All right, that's it. Thanks, man.
Cheers.